7 minutes to 11 o'clock. You're listening to BBC Radio Ulster. We're on FM, digital, medium wave, online, TVs, radio, smartphones, tablets, all the rest. And you can talk to us this morning about your Abba memories, or your favourite Abba track, indeed. 08459 555 678 or 81771 on the text, because they're the biggest selling artists of all time after Elvis, the Beatles and Michael Jackson. They have sold 380 million albums worldwide, and they had 14 top 40 UK singles. And it all started 40 years ago this weekend when Abba won the Eurovision Song Contest at the Brighton Dome. Now, we'll be looking through the life and times of Benny, Bjorn, Annafried and Agnetha in a moment with a man who's an acknowledged expert on the band, Carl Magnus Palm, after we hear the winning song sung by the Bjorn Identity, Northern Ireland's leading Abba tribute band. I'm delighted to welcome Richard and Johnny as Bjorn and Benny, and Karen and Diana as Agnetha and Annafried. Here they are with Waterloo. That's Karen, Richard, Johnny and Diana, The Bjorn Identity. You can find out more about them on thebjornidentity.co.uk. Singing live for us on the Saturday Magazine this morning in a feast, a riot of white satin and gold. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're very welcome.
That was absolutely brilliant. Who was the inspiration and who said, right, this is a good idea to get an Abba tribute band together?
I think that would probably be me, with the help of my real life husband who plays Bjorn. So that's
Richard.
Quite a coup.
We got married and had 2 children just to be authentic.
Yeah, we lived in England and I worked with many Abba tribute bands in the UK for about 12 years now. I've been personally doing Abba, and when we moved back here, I thought there was a gap in the market for a really good Abba tribute band, so that could play theatres, etc. and festivals. So we decided to put this band together, and Richard came up with the name.
The Bjorn Identity.
Yeah.
Very good.
could you?
Very, very clever.
Which we had to
Very
trademark just because we thought it was so good. We thought we'll trademark that.
What is the appeal of ABBA, do you think? I mean, 40 years on, what is it about them and why do you think they're still so popular?
I don't know. It's just the songs. They're very, very, very accessible. They're very pop. They're perfect pop songs generally. They also touched on a lot of different bases, so they had a lot of heartache in their songs. Not just dance songs. People think ABBA are just a disco outfit, but they weren't. They had some very, very in-depth songs. Quite sad, quite ballady, very ballady. Very, just so. I think it touches a lot of people's hearts.
Yeah.
And do you cover all the songs? I mean, do you do all the songs?
We do about 23 songs in our theatre set. So we're kind of covering all bases there, from the
How many
slow
songs?
About 23 in
23
total.
to 25,
There's just not enough time
No.
to cover all
No.
the repertoire.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
many
thing.
more,
You
isn't
could do all of them, but you'd be there all night. That's the thing. So there's you have to edit. You can't do every single ABBA song people like because there's just too many.
Yeah.
As much as we want to.
As much as we like.
And have you a particular favourite? Is there one that's a favourite ABBA song?
Personally, I love Chiquitita. That would be my favourite.
Yeah, I think we all have different. SOS would probably be a favourite of mine. Yeah.
Couldn't even
I like
tell.
Name of the Game.
Do
I
you?
love them all.
Yeah,
Fair
I love
play to
it.
you.
I love it. Fair play to you.
Do you do the turning around, the
Oh,
knowing
yes,
me, knowing you?
absolutely. All the moves.
Definitely.
Yeah, all the moves
We
as
try
well.
to make all the moves as authentic as possible. We've studied all the videos, etc., to try and get the characters, and we do the Swedish accents as well on stage. Just to try and give people that feeling that they're
People
well.
speak
We're
a
not
bit of
trying.
Swedish.
We're not saying we're perfect, you know what I mean? But we try to give people as much as an ABBA experience as possible from what they remember from their youth.
Well, if people want to see the Bjorn Identity, you're going to be at the Empire in Belfast on the 26th of April. You're open for bookings for the 20th of June. That's at the Theatre at the Mill if you want to go along and have an ABBA night there. You're going to sing for us again later on.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to give people the choice of picking their favourite ABBA song from three of the top ABBA songs of all time. So if you want to call us or text us and let us know whether you'd like to hear Mamma Mia, SOS or Dancing Queen, okay? Mamma Mia, SOS or Dancing Queen. Text us on 81771. Call us on 08459 555 678 and let us know which of those you'd like to hear. We'll hear from the Bjorn Identity before the end of the programme. Guys, thank you so much for coming in. It's an earthly hour of the morning to be singing and we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later on.
Thank you.
We'll have Paula McIntyre will be cooking some fresh Loch Ness pollen in the studio next door. So I'm sure ABBA, there's some kind of a fish Swedish
Oh,
sort of
crayfish.
connection there, I'm sure.
Crayfish.
It's bound to improve.
Herring.
Yeah, we should have had some herring actually. We'll see how we go. Thank you very much indeed anyway. The Bjorn Identity, that's Karen, Richard, Johnny and Diana, and as I say, we're going to hear from them a wee bit later on. And we're hoping to talk to Carl Magnus Palm, who is an acknowledged ABBA expert, about his connection with the band. And just let's remind ourselves of some of the great hits that the band had.
Mamma mia, here I go again, my.
Now, how did ABBA go from being a slightly camp novelty act to a multi-million selling supergroup? Carl Magnus Palm is author of Bright Lights, Dark Shadows, the real story of ABBA and ABBA's 40th anniversary. And I'm delighted to say he joins me now live from a studio in Stockholm in Sweden. Good morning to you, Carl Magnus.
Good morning.
And how's Sweden? How's Stockholm looking this morning?
It's looking very nice, actually. It's a clear blue sky, very sunny, although a bit too chilly for my taste, perhaps.
That's just the way. You're an acknowledged expert on the band. You grew up in Stockholm. You would have been 10 when they won the Eurovision Song Contest. Now, you say yourself you weren't really an ABBA fan when you were a child. Do you remember the night itself?
I do actually. I was actually 9 years old, and I remember vividly my family and myself sitting in front of we had a very small colour TV for some reason. We were sitting in front of that and watching the Eurovision Song Contest, and it was like, wow, Sweden won. Hey, that's great. That's fantastic. So at that time, I was still very enthusiastic.
And was there great excitement in Sweden? There was this kind of rumour that Sweden didn't really take to ABBA the same way the rest of the world did. People in Sweden were more interested in what was happening in the rest of the world musically.
Well, there were two things going on at the same time, I would say. There was a certain disdain towards ABBA. Their music was seen as commercial and superficial by, certain media people. And there was also a very strong political music movement in Sweden at the time. So if you didn't sing about politics or starving people or whatever, then you weren't taken seriously. At the same time, the general public didn't really care about that, and they bought every ABBA album went to number one in Sweden, and they broke all previous sales records and everywhere. So they were huge.
And it was 1993, May the 18th, 1993, that you got to meet Bjorn. Was the first of the band that you met for an interview for your research for your book. Now, at this stage, they had split up, 10 years previously?
Yeah, about 11 years or something, yeah. Wow, you really read up on my history. I didn't even remember it was May 18th. But yeah, that sounds right.
I just imagine as a fan that must have been a big occasion, going to meet someone, superstar at that stage, and even at that stage they were kind of notoriously private about their own lives.
Oh, absolutely. No, it was a great kick. I'd done my research on on their music and their history, so I was well prepared and to get this opportunity to sit down with the people who actually made the music and ask them all sorts of questions for hours on end. That was, a dream come true. And
they were all very accommodating. Maybe less so Agnetha, who even at that stage, she wanted to do the interview. You did the interview separately, I should say, but Agnetha wanted to do the interview where you sent the questions and she sent a reply by mail. Yeah, that's very true. She's ever since ABBA stopped, or maybe when she withdrew from the music business in the late 80s, since then she has been very selective with giving interviews, and none more so than during the mid-90s when she didn't talk to the media really. So that was a great scoop just to get her to answer questions at that time. Do you still have the letters? Yeah, well, it's one letter actually. You put all the questions in one letter. Yeah. That's something. That's something to have. So where did this come from? I mean, that's why were they so reticent to talk about themselves or do the publicity, do you think? Well, I think there was a period after ABBA, say for 10 years after ABBA had split, or 10, 15 years perhaps, when they felt, that's something that's in the past. ABBA is something that belongs to the past and we're living in the present. And in Agnetha's case, I think she said that she was so tired of ABBA as a group and the whole experience, and she wanted to she just wanted to recover, really, and be herself, find out who she was as a woman. She hasn't been so reclusive, it's just she hasn't been available to the media. Yeah. ABBA Gold sold 28 million copies. Mamma Mia, the musical, is the highest grossing musical of all time. I mean, right now, 40 years on, they're as successful as ever. I know two questions I want to ask, because I read somewhere that they were offered $1 billion US dollars to get back together for a tour in America. Is that true? Yeah, it seems to be true. They were supposed to do that tour, and also I think they were supposed to write new songs and record them. So there were, quite a few things they were going to do for those $1 billion, which of course they would be grossly overpaid anyway, whatever they had to do for it. But they turned it down because they don't want to. They don't want to go back in time. They want to move forward. And do you think, the question will always be asked as long as the four of them are still around, will they ever, there were rumours of them getting back together. The last time I think they appeared together was for one of the premieres of Mamma Mia, just actually the four of them together but no singing. Will they ever get back and sing again, do you think? I'm pretty certain they won't. It's too late for that, for one thing. I mean, 3 of the 4 members are approaching 70 now. And but it doesn't matter in a sense. I mean, if anything, if this whole continuing popularity of ABBA tells you something, it would tell you that all you have to do is turn up, do a few select gigs, charge huge prices, and people will pay it. They could make an absolute fortune out of it.
Yeah, but they don't need the money. They're very well off, all four of them, and they're simply not interested. They want ABBA to remain the group that they were back in the 70s and early 80s. And, they don't want to tarnish that memory. And, they're simply not interested. It's not interesting for them.
Yeah. Do you know what day it is today? I have to ask you this, Carl Magnus. 5th of April, 1950.
Yeah, the 5th of... Yeah, it's Agnetha's birthday.
Yes.
She's 64 today.
Well
yeah.
done, you know your stuff. Paul just texted us to let us know that it's Agnetha's birthday today, born the 5th of April 1950. Carl, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for joining us live from Stockholm this morning, and continued success in your writing and your blogging and all the rest.
Thank you so much.
Carl Magnus Palm, author of Bright Lights, Dark Shadows, The Real Story of ABBA and ABBA's 40th anniversary. There's Barry, says, I saw ABBA twice in a week in 1979. We were sat beside Agnetha in the hotel in Dublin, and I didn't know it was her until she left. I think that's a classic missed opportunity, Barry. We're continuing on the Saturday Magazine. We want your memories, 08459 555 678 or 81771 on the text. Apparently, Elvis Costello claimed that the keyboards on Oliver's Army were inspired by Dancing Queen. I have to say, I can't hear it myself, but let's have a listen. You're listening to BBC Radio Ulster. The results are in, the votes have been counted, and in our great ABBA-tastic You Decide the song that finishes the Saturday Magazine for today, the song that came first between Dancing Queen, Mamma Mia and SOS was indeed SOS. SOS, the Bjorn Identity are standing by in their spangly gear, ready to rock and roll. So here they are, Karen, Richard, Johnny and Diana, the Bjorn Identity with SOS.
Where are those happy days? They seem so hard to find. I try to reach for you, but you have closed your mind. Whatever happened to our love? I wish I understood. It used to be so nice, it used to be so good. So when you're near me, darling, can't you hear me? SOS. The love you gave me, nothing else can save me. SOS. When you're gone, how can I even try to go on? When you're gone, though I try, how can I carry on? You seem so far away, though you are standing near. You made me feel alive, but something died, I fear. I really tried to make it out. I wish I understood what happened to our love. It used to be so good. So when you're near me, darling, can't you hear me? SOS. The love you gave me, nothing else can save me. SOS. When you're gone, how can I even try to go on? When you're gone, though I've tried, how can I carry
40 years on since ABBA won the Eurovision Song Contest with Waterloo. That is SOS, as voted by you, the Saturday Magazine listeners, performed for us by the Bjorn Identity, who are Karen Rush, Richard Doubleday, Johnny McGuinness and Diana Nesbitt. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're very welcome.
Don't forget to get changed
Don't worry.
out of your white and gold, spangly, all the rest.
I'm in the streets wearing that.
Before you hit the streets of Belfast. But we really appreciate you coming in today. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
And marking
Alice.
the 40th anniversary. Thanks to our production team, Kathy Quinn and Stan Ferguson. Jerry Kelly's coming up at 12:30.